Just to make an observation, it's been sort of a mini 2020 out there in Minnesota. Why? Oh, by the way, why does all this crap happen in Minnesota? Why specifically in Minneapolis, Minnesota, of all places? I mean, I know that it's a big city. It's probably liberal as fuck. But so are a lot of other big cities. Why does this all? Well, why does it all begin in Minneapolis? That's where it all started in 2020 as well. What the hell's wrong with Minneapolis? Um, it's uncomfortably close to Wisconsin, which is where all of my relatives are from. It's right next door, and I sort of grew up thinking about it like in the Garrison Keeler here in Lake Wobegon, Minnesota. We're gonna do where all the men are good looking and all the women are all the children are above average. Um, those of you who don't know that reference, that's fine. I sort of wish I didn't know that reference. But I mean, I grew up thinking of Minnesota as a kind of a wholesome place, and now it's where all of this shit is going down. All the annoying shit is going down. All the annoying people are saying, "Why don't you talk about this? Why don't you use your platform to talk about this?" And I remember when this was happening in 2020, it was much bigger. It was a bigger thing then, as I said, because the guy was black, and it was more than that, though. I think it was like there was some. It was artificially boosted, but it had this huge cultural cachet, and so people were posting their black squares, and be feeling all virtuous, and like, but it's sort of been happening again lately, where they're on social medias, on certain social media, there are like I don't do the thing where I write, well, I'm unfollowing you now. I don't do I don't make an announcement, but you know, um, I have a very small Instagram page, and it's not even under my real name. But there are people that I followed who are comedians or whatever, and who I found entertaining, for one reason or another, who are non-political. Uh, but then they feel the need to just uh, virtue signal about uh, uh, what's happening in Minnesota, and it's sort of like, and then there's like this it's part of this coercive kind of mentality where if you say nothing about it, then it's presumed that you're a bad person, right? Because you've got to talk about it. You've got to be an ally. Uh, You've got to signal that you're on the right side of history. And the thing is, no matter how strongly I've ever felt about anything, it's never occurred to me to like to go, if I go on a social media page, and someone on that page isn't talking about this particular thing. It's never occurred to me to think, oh, well, they're not. Well, I'm going to start giving them a hard time because they need to use their platform to talk about this because this is important. It's never occurred to me, and I feel very strongly about a lot of things. I have principles. I have morals. Uh, you know, um, but I don't just think, oh well, if this person isn't talking about this, then uh, then I'm going to browbeat them until they do, or I don't think, oh well, silence is violence. if this person doesn't talk about this thing that's really making me mad, that I'm really upset about, that I really feel strongly about, then I'm just gonna uh, assume the worst of this person. Um, and like I've just had to lose, people, I've uh, I've just had to cut them off, and some of them I actually liked. Some of them, there was one guy. I'm not gonna give any details, but there's one guy who was very amusing, very likable. Uh, I would comment on his videos, and he would usually respond. Most of the time they don't do that. Most of the people with big platforms, they don't. Most of the time they don't respond to little people like me. But this guy would always say something. He would always either like it or have something fun or funny to say in its place. And then he had to do this uh, virtue signaling thing, and I just dropped him like a hot potato. Doesn't mean he's a bad guy, um, but I just can't tolerate that. Like I just and I guess I am talking about two separate things here. One is the people who feel the need to get on and get out of their basically go out of their lane. you know, if their focus is comedy, or their focus is music, or their focus is whatever, but then all of a sudden they have to say, by the way, I am properly morally indignant about this thing that I'm supposed to be properly morally indignant about. Um, I phrase it that way, but maybe they sincerely mean it. I don't know. It seems to me that there's an awful lot of coercion to have the proper quote unquote uh, take on these issues. So I just sort of assume the worst. I assume that they are saying what they're saying because they're essentially moral cowards. Um, so I might be wrong about that, but I have to take a stand. It's not like anybody really notices. I don't think uh, that I've dropped them like a hot potato, but it's still taking a stand in my own way. But it's worse. That's one thing, and then but then the other component of this is the the coercion, and that's really the more insidious thing. The whole I haven't heard anyone say silence is violence again, but it's implied. It's basically implied that if you have nothing, if you aren't going to comment on this, like you don't even you might even agree, but you're just not going to comment on it. You might even feel the quote unquote proper way about it, but you're just not going to comment. I don't feel the proper way about it. Y'all know how I feel. Um, but I mean, it's not like we should just assume that that somebody not talking about an issue means that they are uh, to be shunned for moral cowardice. I think if anything, it's the opposite. I think those who are coerced, those who do talk about it, are more likely been coerced into talking about it because of the mob mentality, which still has such a hold on such a lot of people, even though there's obviously been a backlash to them, especially since 2020. Anyway, those are my thoughts.